Without land, how can you harvest solar? How can you harvest oil? How can you harvest water to generate the power that you're talking about? So land is critical. We need to liberate ourselves from our forks and knives, because poor agriculture gives us poor health. And poor health feeds into our health system. And all these GMO foods we're talking about in terms of land, we need to liberate ourselves and start going back to organic farming.
So welcome back to my YouTube space. Now, the video I'm going to talk about today is about this bold Pan-Africanist called Joshua Maponga, talking about how Africa is being exploited, the ways they are using it, or the ways they are using to exploit Africa, okay? And one of the things he has talked about is about land. Land is the main issue of Africa. As I always say, whoever controls food controls everything, and whoever controls land controls food. So when they take over land, that means that they have taken over you. And for example, in South Africa, 70% of land is owned by white South Africans, and the black South Africans have the highest rate of, the poverty in South Africa, or the poor in South Africa. Most of them, the high percentage is black South Africans, because they do not own land. And the white South Africans who own land, they're the one who they are taking care of, let me say this, food, okay? They are controlling food, they are controlling water, controlling health sector and everything. So in real sense, whoever owns land owns everything. Now, I want you to watch this video of Joshua Maponga talking about how Africa was divided and how Africa is going through problems simply because we do not own land. Watch this and then we'll continue.
You guys went to war, and you did not go to war to fight for democracy. We didn't go to war so that we wanted to share toilets. No, we can build our own toilets. We went to war because we wanted to restore land, number one. We wanted power away from those that were oppressing us and to have it ourselves. And I'm not talking about SWAPO alone. I'm talking this as a Pan-Africanist. This has been the weakness of all African governments, all of them. They went to war to fight for land. When they were there, they started organizing governments, and they made themselves the kings while they were at war. And when they came back, they assumed the instruments of colonial power systems, and they started to become the drivers of the same system which had oppressed them. I'm not mixing my words. So we came back with presidents when we went to war with kings. And when they came back, they sat on the same chair that the colonialist was sitting. They became the ministers of health to manage the same health system, ministers of education to manage the same education system, ministers of water to manage the same water policies. Even as we speak today, we still have the red line zones in Namibia where goods cannot move freely. In a country, we call a country, but you cannot cross over with avocados and beef. You cannot cross this line. And you sit back and say, who drew this line? A bunch of some Boeros and German guys who said, no, if you allow goods from the north to come down here, then the businesses of the south will die. We are the monopoly holders of business in Windhoek. You can't allow cheap things from the north to come, and those red lines are still there. And we talk about manifestos, we talk about policy change, and yet the devil in the room still looks at us, and to tamper with it, we all want to tiptoe and put golden gloves when we begin to talk about these real issues that matter. Come with me, ladies and gentlemen. We only have three things to discuss. Number one, it is water. Number two, it is land. Number three, it is air. That's what we are made out of. And that's what gives us legitimacy to stay on this earth. Every one of us, we have a right to clean air. Every one of us have a right to clean water. Every one of us have a right to land. So we don't have all these ministries, beautiful and cosmetic as they are. Minister of what, minister of what, minister of what, minister of what. Oh, they sound very nice, those things. You only have one ministry. Come on, say after me, how many ministries? How many ministries? And that is the ministry of land. Because in ministry of land, agriculture is there. In the ministry of land, water is there. In the ministry of land, roads is there. In the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Housing is there. In the Ministry of Land, Mining is there. In the Ministry of Land, Agriculture is there. If you don't have land, what are you ministering? I mean, we can tiptoe around this thing until the cows come home. The Namibian government, through the SWAPO Liberation Organization, need once and for all to look at land as the real ministry, and all other ministries can wait. Even energy is founded on land. Without land, how can you harvest solar? How can you harvest oil? How can you harvest water to generate the power that you're talking about? So land is critical. Hear me as I'm looking for a landing strip, ladies and gentlemen. When we have these ideas, we are going to be spending $500 million. Congratulations, Honorable Minister. $500 million going towards agriculture. Oh, put your hands together. Wow, now stop and start crying. 70% of that land is still sitting in white hands, so the 500 million is going to who? Where is it going? And again, before you get discouraged, as Africans, remember you learn from your neighbors. I'm coming to you from a radical space of Zimbabwe. Now you have an option, because South African policies of land are affected, number one, by Germany, number two, by South Africa, and your own Namibian policies. Shame to say, South African land, 72% of that land still lays and sits in white farmers. In Namibia, you're at 70%. So when you look at yourselves in terms of land, just consider that you are exactly where South Africa is. I'll address you as politicians. Because of the golden gloves around land, ANC broke into pieces. DM, Quarters Party, what do you call it? COPE. After COPE, EFF. After EFF, MK, and you go to the manifestos of all these political parties that broke away from ANC, it was one single issue, that they are not willing to address the issue of land. Namibia, you are not far from that. I see lots of young people beginning to look for change. They're not looking for change. It's because you are being gentle the way you look at this monster. So I'll give you a quick solution. The quicker you address this issue, the better. Follow me carefully. We are going to do everything according to the rule of law. Congratulations. Whose law? The same Roman Dutch law that sent you to war is the same law you are trying to implement to fix it. Now let me teach you something like a criminal. Use the law, but use it to your advantage. This is how you do it. I'm telling you a strategy like a serious criminal. Agree that we're going to buy all the land from you, but we're going to pay you only to the developments that we have done. But we are going to deduct the destructions that you have done. And we'll give you the change. I mean, that makes sense. We agree. So you found our land virgin. It was clean. It was productive. You have worked on it for 50, 60 years. You've put fertilizers. You've polluted the rivers. You've what. The quality of the land that you found, vis-a-vis the quality of the land that we are now buying, cannot be at the same price. So we agree to the 3 million purchase of your farm. We deduct siltations, salting of the land, destruction of nature, and etc., and we give you the change. And then we can decide how much can we pay you for what you destroyed. I mean, if they use the law, because for me it's clear, if you take away the law, the land without law, how can we use law to take it back? It was taken without law. In our own way in Zimbabwe, we would take it back without law. That's fair, unless there were treaties that were signed for you to take it by law. What am I talking about? When it comes to the issues of land, Zimbabwe, we took a radical land reform program. Follow very carefully. We got tired, 25 years of being lied to by the British government. We are going to, when they were using our land as a retirement package for their soldiers from the British Army, they lied for 25 years, hoping that in 25 years, Mugabe will be gone. They were disappointed. The man was still alive and he was there. And the promises they'd given him were not fulfilled. So it became a mess. Soldiers said, if you don't give us land now, you and Britain are all going out. Mugabe to make the U-turn in his policies and look at Tony Blair and says, Tony Blair, you can keep your Britain, I'll keep my Zimbabwe. But that was under emergency. They grabbed the land. I'm being very frank, very frank. They grabbed the land. Unfortunately, our brothers, being our brothers, they distributed the land amongst themselves. It trickled a little bit to the bottom, but the rest of them, the generals and the army, some grabbed more than they could need. And up to now, chased the white people out of the economy, and our food basket went down. our economy went down, sanctions followed us, and for the rest of this generation, you have known Zimbabwe as a junk state because of that. Now, you are Namibia, you are smart, slightly smarter than us. So I'll give you a 5-year to a 10-year plan. Start a vigorous agricultural training program for your youth. Stop talking land. Stop. Just stop. Don't make noise for these white guys. They will wake up. But I'm giving you a strategy. For the next 5 to 10 years, start developing serious commercial farmers. Understand the agro-business, from soil to plants to animal husbandry to what, who understand it fully. Then take the communal land that is now available. Experiment with them. Teach them. Let them know how to do the food security business. Remember, guys, the guy who feeds you controls your mouth. You can't talk too much. If you are borrowing food from me, and remember, food is now being used as a weapon. So they will control your food, as they did in other countries and as they are still doing now. So have an educational program first. So it starts off with your educational system. Develop agricultural institutions as SWAPO, vigorous ones. Then slowly, when they graduate, these kids, start putting them on the farms. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, your first graduates, you can begin to approach critical farmers and purchase those farms. Because chasing them away without a long-term plan, you may have to follow the path which Zimbabwe did. The Zimbabwe model is perfect, except that it was rapid and it did not meet up with a properly planned educational system that will be able to protect the stomachs of the people. But while I'm saying that, our stomachs are captured and they are colonized. We need to liberate ourselves from our forks and knives, because poor agriculture gives us poor health. And poor health feeds into our health system. And all these GMO foods we're talking about in terms of land, we need to liberate ourselves and start going back to organic farming, indigenous seeds, small seeds. Our parents did not have water shipped around where we need more trucks to carry water. And they were staying where they were staying and they had access to water. But when you moved them away from where they were, now you need to move water to where they are, which is not practical. So we need to start looking at vigorous ways of vigorously transforming this mindset, particularly as a ruling party. And SWAPO, hear me well. Stop acting like an opposition party.
Come back. So we were talking about land liberation. Land liberation is the main factor that African countries need to do with it, and I've seen Ibrahim Traore trying to do that, because when we liberate land, that means we will be controlling the agriculture sector. That means we will be controlling the mineral sector. Anything that comes from our soil, we will be the one controlling it, because we are the one who are possessing the lands. When I see South Africa taking back land from the white settlers, it's a good thing they are doing, because taking back this land this means Africa is giving back, or Africans are taking back what belongs to them. When you talk about what belongs to us, we don't talk about liberation. When we talk about liberation, reparation, you know. That's why every day I talk about reparation. I talk about giving back the land, ancestral land, back to the people that belongs to them. For example, if African governments, the countries, they possess or they repossess the lands, ancestral lands, that means even Black Americans or Caribbeans or those Africans in diaspora who have lost their identity, they will be able to trace back their identity back to Africa, to their ancestral land. It will be easy for them to trace back, because the lands is what determine where you come from. Because you cannot just come from a thin air. You need to come from somewhere, soil. You know, your ancestors were living here, they were growing their plants here, they were worshiping here, you know, and each and every these things need to have land. So taking back these lands to their ancestral originality, that means that everyone can trace back home. Black Americans can come back, the Afro-Caribbeans can come back, Africans diaspora, they can come back, and they can trace where they came from. Joshua Maponga here is talking reality and is talking sense. We as African countries, we were divided by a thin line. Just on the paper, drew a line down and they said, here is where Tanzania is, Uganda is here, you cannot go past this area, you cannot do business here. And you saw Uganda and Kenya fighting because there is a line drew at Migingo Island. So you cannot fish on this side and the Kenyans cannot fish on this side. Everyone is claiming that this water is ours and this water is ours. That is the work of the colonizers. They're the one who made sure that we will be fighting on our borders simply because claiming that this is ours and that's yours. Now, by doing this, that will make sure that the colonizer made sure that we as African, we cannot unite, because a Moroccan sees Egyptian as different, Ugandan sees Tanzania as different, Congolese sees Rwandese as different, because we are divided by this line called borders. And this line, you cannot see it. It is just drew on a piece of paper, okay? That's a disaster. They made sure they have put it out here. Now, you may get two countries fighting for a piece of land on a border, a very small piece of land. Fighting. You get countries fighting because they believe that this water on this side is not ours and that is not yours. And that is one of the ways that made colonizers are continuing to exploit Africa. Okay? The exploitations of minerals in Africa and everything, most of it is done from a piece of paper. It starts there. You cannot know physically they are doing it, but they are doing it through a written piece of paper. And those corrupt leaders, African leaders, are the one who they're the continuation of this story. You know, they're the one who are used to continue the exploitation. You may think that these African leaders, most of them are helping. No, they are not helping the Africans. They are not helping black people. They are helping the white people to continue their legacy of exploitation. So, when we talk about liberating Africa, the first thing we need to keep in mind is liberating land, or land liberation. Let's fight for our land. And they put rules and regulations and laws that will make sure that you, as an African, if you want to fight for your land, you go it by using their own ways and their own laws. And it's hard for us to claim this land because of these laws. It's hard for us to claim this, what is ours, because of the laws they kept there. And they are telling us these laws are here to make sure that everyone is on spot. But these laws are here to make sure that their agenda will continue. The laws are here to make sure that we will not go past what they want. Okay? That's why we see laws and bills on the parliaments, and you are wondering, what are these bills and laws helping us? Okay? Laws should be there to put us in order, but laws should not be there to steal from us. Laws should not be there to deny us our rights. For example, you will see they have written a law saying that you will own this land for 10 years. After 10 years, you will pay for it to still be yours. If you fail to pay, they take back the land. And we will sign and we will clap and we will celebrate that our country is in order because of these laws, but these laws are there to make sure that we do not own anything in our own country. Yeah. So Joshua Maponga has given us secrets how we can end this. I don't know if it's the right way, but I think we as Pan-Africanists, we need to move out here and talk about these things. We need to be out here and try to bring out solutions that can help us claim what is ours. Okay? And as you heard from the video, he is saying that for you to have good water, you need to have land. For you to have good air, you need to have land. For you to have infrastructure, you need to have land. For you to have, everything, good schools, hospitals, and everything flourishing in agriculture, you need to own land. That's why the people who are living in towns, in rental houses, they are not capable of owning anything. They can't do agriculture. They can't rear chicken. They can't, they cannot do cattle keeping, They cannot do agriculture, any form of farming, poultry farming. cattle farming. They can't do that because you have been surrounded, or you have been caged somewhere that you always think is just paying on the house you are living. And there's rules there that you cannot put chicken here because it is in the center, town center. There is rules here that you cannot put pets. So it is very hard for you to maneuver because you do not own a land. What you do, you are just paying rent in the house you are living. And that's why I urge each and every youth in Africa, make sure you own something. You know, just own a piece of land, a piece, you know, a soil somewhere that you can be able to do your things freely. That's why I see Ibrahim Traore, the first step of he's doing is to make sure that he is going deep into agriculture, making use of the land very well. Because when you make use of the land, you will feed your country. When you make good use of the land, your people will not lack water. When you use goods of the land, you'll have good infrastructure. So anything that we do out here as African countries and the leaders we choose to be there, they need to focus on the land liberation. This is the only thing we need right now. Land liberation. When we own land, that means we have everything. That's for sure. That is reality. When you own land, you own everything. And exploitation has been there since way back up to now. And this is because we have leaders who are, we have leaders who are corrupt, leaders who are being used, leaders who are the puppets, and the colonizers knows this thing. That's why they are putting their leaders there, their puppet leaders there, to make sure that they will continue this exploitation and colonization indirectly. That's why we have puppet leaders there. So at the end of the day, we as the people, we are the one who knows what we want. Yes, we have laws, but we need to find leaders who will make sure that they will either implement these laws in a right way, or they will amend laws to make it favor black people. Because the laws that I see here, these laws do not favor black people. The laws do not favor the people of the country. These laws does not favor people who are poor. These laws does not favor Africans. These laws only favor the white people and the colonizer. Okay, so we need to check on that. And that's why everyone, I need you to watch this video of Joshua Maponga and share it to every African or everyone you know that needs to know this message. Okay, so it is about Africa, and Africa is our own business. Send me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace be with you.